Sixers series changed everything for me because Trae was the toughest dude on the court out of both teams. And we can get into this year being disappointed because we'll get to that. But that was a real pivot for me where I was like, oh, man, I'm like, this dude doesn't give a shit. He's not afraid of anybody out there. What was that like for you to experience?
Yeah, I mean, just like any player, Trae went through growth to start his career, just like anybody else does. And he's such an elite talent that his whole life, he's had the ball in his hands and he's making plays and everybody's just kind of playing off him because he's the best player on the court and you wanted the ball in his hands. And to start his career, there's definitely some growing pains. There's growing pains for everybody. And, once we caught a rhythm last year, and it started a little bit before the playoffs. Once we caught a rhythm, I think he started to trust the guys around him, and guys around him started playing better and making shots and proving themselves that you can make big plays in big moments. We got in the playoffs, and he had a big just like F you to everybody, and I feel like everybody followed that, and it did. It started in that New York series, just like he was hated the second we started that series, and his whole life, everyone telling him he's too small or too this, and comparing him to Luka. There's always these comparisons that follow him. I think he had a lot to prove in that first playoff run, that he could win and that he could win at a high level in this league. And that's not something that changes. He's someone, he has it tattooed on him that he never forgets. And he's somebody that he plays with a chip on his shoulder. And I feel like last year, the energy that he brought and kind of the attitude he brought to every game was something that our team definitely followed.
Coming into this year, I was so excited about the depth. Because I think you could throw shooters at people. You can throw size at guys. DeAndre not being healthy hurts because of some of the wing defensive, problems I think that you probably would admit to. Before we get into kind of what this has meant for this year, give me a scouting report. Like, what's your role on the team? What's Trae like? Who's the guy you're closest with? Because there's a lot of guys that are all looking for minutes. So sometimes I worry about, does everybody get along, or, is everybody kind of still so young and new to this that it's still a fun experience, even if this year hasn't been at the point that you probably expect it to be?
Yeah, I mean, I really see my role as kind of a do-it-all kind of role, and that could change game by game, whether I'm starting, whether I'm not starting. I've always seen myself as a player who elevates the game of everybody else on the court, and that's whether offensively, finding guys shots, being a ball mover, defensively, who I'm guarding, being able to guard multiple positions, being able to switch with bigs. And then obviously at times being more aggressive, looking for my own shot, trying to score. But that's not always the case game by game. Like you said, our team, we have so many weapons. We're not healthy a lot. We're finally healthy right now, and it's great to have all these weapons on the court. You talked about having DeAndre Hunter back and his defensive presence. So I think he's one of the underrated. He's one of the best defenders in the league, and that people don't really know about yet. Just he's been caught by a couple bad luck, had some injuries, but we'd keep him on the court. It feels like he scored 20 every game for us. He's guarding other teams' best players. Trae goes in, he gets 30 most nights. And, having John and Clint kind of clean up the middle, and Bogey and myself being shooters, and Gallo being a shooter. We definitely feel like we have a lot of weapons and we have a lot of different options. We can win games in a variety of ways. And, offensively, we can really be elite. And for us, everything it's going to be figuring out the defensive end. Having someone like DeAndre back has been huge. And everybody just buying in a little bit more, showing a little bit more effort and urgency. I don't think, maybe our urgency to start the year was where it should be. And I think it's picking up as of late, but I wouldn't want to do the scouting report against our team. So I'll leave it at that. It's, I think we have a lot of people you got to worry about. And, if we're all clicking at the right time, I think we can beat anybody.
Yeah, I thought it was weird when I'd heard like, yeah, we're a little bored going into the year. And you're like, no, you're a young team. You're supposed to be like going into this fired up. It was great you made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Congrats on the series against Philly. But no, now it's time to turn it on. And yeah, the defensive numbers, you already know this, they've been terrible. Do you collectively, I know the answers, of course, we believe in ourselves, but do you collectively believe that you should be back towards the top 3 or 4 teams in the East?
We do. I mean, within the past week, we've beaten a lot of the top teams that are in the East, and we feel like we're right there. And like I said, we feel like if we're healthy and guys are clicking, that we can beat anybody. That's both in the East, that's in the West. We just have to prove it. And we definitely dug ourselves a hole to start the year and won 7 or 8 straight. And dug ourselves a hole again, and we got hit by COVID pretty hard and had guys in out of the lineup, and now we're trying to climb ourselves out again. But in a lot of ways, we feel like we can get to 500. We're right back in the mix in the Eastern Conference. We're right back in a 7 or 8 if we're 500, and you get hot again, you can get up into that 5 or 6, and from there it's anybody's ball game. So we got a lot to do still. I think to start the year, I don't think boring. I don't know if because I remember Trae said that. He said that in a quote, and I'm not sure.
It's a bad quote. It was a bad quote.
Right. I'm not sure it's exactly what he meant. It was definitely like the urgency. You go from playing in those games and the energy that's in the building, and it was our first time. And then you go to game 1 and you're looking at the seed and you're like, we got 82 of these before we get back to where we just were 2 months ago. And so I think that was staring at us in the face a little bit. And being a young team, the first time again that we're going through it, hey, we got to start the year, and the regular season matters. You got to position yourselves in the playoffs to get there. And some we didn't handle well, obviously, and now we're have to deal with it.
All right, how did the Kavon thing start?
It's funny. It was old teammates. It was DeAndre Hunter, Taurean Prince. It was back in like my second year, and it was an alter ego. It was like every game that I played well or scored a lot, they'd come in and I was like, damn, you were Kavon yesterday. And I'm sure a lot of it has to do with the culture of Atlanta and the people that follow our games and our fans. And it was something that kind of stuck on. And once it got out, everybody loved it. So basically, if I score 20 or more in a game, I'm Kavon, and if I don't, then I'm Kevin. And if I'm scoring 5 or below or 10 or below or something like that, and it's an ugly game, they call me Kelvin. So there's 3 different types of alter egos.
Who gives you the most shit then on the team? Who's your buddy, or is it hopefully it's your buddy,
Yeah.
someone you get along with? I don't know.
Yeah, me and John bust on each other a lot. He was someone I came in, and he wasn't obviously a rookie with us, but he was never someone that was trying to make any of the rookies do stuff, and we connected right away. Been through a lot of games together, a lot of losses, a lot of wins, but I would say we bust on each other a lot. Same with D Hunt. But our team as a whole, our locker room's close, and it has to be.
If there's a tournament of one-on-one amongst you guys, who wins?
Tournament of one-on-one.
Yeah.
Trae's a good one-on-one player. Just defensively, I think that would definitely be, he'd have to, if he got ball first, I think it'd be tough. But D Hunt's a good one-on-one player. He's got a shot that it's tough to block. He kind of shoots it behind his head, so he can really get off any shot he wants. And defensively, he's tough to score on. But I'm saying the sleeper is Danilo Gallinari. That guy, like one-on-one, is almost unstoppable. When I was out for COVID, he was out for COVID at the same time. And the last couple of days when we were both clear symptom-wise and we were set to come back, our build-up, we were playing one-on-one against each other. And there's some times, man, this guy hits some tough shots. And if you're someone who knows him or has seen him throughout his career, he's someone that he hits a lot of shots that you think shouldn't be going in, or you're questioning how he got it off, and he makes it. But Gallo's he's a sneaky one-on-one player.
I'll watch him some nights and I go, is he even moving out there tonight? Like, what's going on? And then he just kind of finds his spot, and he doesn't have to dribble much. And sometimes it's also wild. I'll be like, what's he doing tonight? And then some nights it's just on.
He gets the easiest 20 points I've seen in my career so far, my short career. I remember playing against him when he was on the Thunder, and it was like you really didn't notice it. And you look up at the end of the game, and he's got 18 to 20. And then he gets on our team, and for the most part, we've been bringing him off the bench, and he goes in, he plays 18 minutes. Like you said, it doesn't look like he bends his knees one time, and you look up and he's got 20. He's just kind of that kind of player.
What's it like for you in Atlanta? This is a team that's definitely it feels like it's so embraced when things like Atlanta can be, and Atlanta's had a nice run between Georgia and the Braves here. I realize that Georgia is not exactly downtown Atlanta, but what's it like for you? Year 4 coming out of Maryland, being a pro NBA player and walking around and being part of the community.
I really enjoy it. I really like the city. I'm from upstate New York. I'm not from a big city. I'm not from anywhere that's near a big city. The closest obviously being New York. That's a little over 2.5 hours away. And for me, I think I enjoy being in a city that's lively. It feels like all the teams when I first got here were right at the start of their rebuild, and that's us. That's the Braves. I think the Falcons were Falcons were really good when I first got here and kind of went into a mini rebuild here in the last couple of years. And the soccer team has been good, but it's a city that I feel like truly has embraced all the young guys on each roster, and they root for you and they're excited about what the future holds. And so from the second I got here, it's been a lot of love, and people obviously rooting for us, and it's a fun city to be a part of. Obviously, really good sports teams. The weather's great. I live pretty much in the city, and so I walk around a lot. There's great food. So far I love it. Obviously you win more, everything's a lot better. So the run we made last year definitely helped a lot.
Do you have your talk shit moment? Do you talk shit to anybody?
Not too bad. I'm not a big shit talker. I never really have been.
What about to you? There had to have been somebody early that was just like.
There is, though. There was a couple, obviously. That's really every year. I think, one that was funny, and, we're both represented by the same agent, so we talked to each other. It was, me and Bradley Beal a couple of years ago. I think we both got double text in one game, but after the game, it was one of those things like we were laughing, talking about it. And that usually happens.
What did you say to each other? Do you remember?
I think he scored on me. He had an and one, and I was guarding him all game. And he knows I was doing well on him too, but I was guarding him. So he had an and one and just like held the ball out and gave it to me. And so I like shoved the ball away, like said something, and both got text, but he was at the free throw line just kind of laughing. And it was, in some ways, I felt like he knew that like I was the young guy. Like, our agent told him at some point, like, hey, look out for our guy Kev. He's always on the Hawks. And, Brad is someone I obviously respect his game tremendously. He's one of the best scorers in this league. So if you go out there and you can hold him to not 30, I feel like you did a good job.
I'd like to know who started this is a little different, but who started no matter what, never give the ball back to the ref. Like, make sure you walk away 10, 20 feet and then drop it behind you instead of just turning and being like, here, I know you have to check it. This is a new thing. It's not new, but it's league wide now. Every guy decides I'm just going to be a pain in the ass after this call and then put the ball over here. Who started that? Do you ever do it?
I mean, it's being petty for sure. And there's so many rules about what you can say to a ref, what you can't say to a ref, how you're supposed to treat a ref, and being respectful towards them, and they'll be respectful back. And a lot of times it's not the case. And so I think in some ways, holding the ball after a play and walking away with it, technically you're not breaking any rules, but the ref, he knows what you're doing and he knows how you're doing it, and you're just kind of trying to be difficult for a sec. And I think it's something that I'm not sure who started it, but it's something that everyone's picked up on, just as kind of like a mini FU, like, hey, I didn't agree with that call you just had.
It's out of control right now. Dwight loves doing it too, but Dwight doesn't get the ball that often, so that's why he wants to hang on to it the entire time.
True. Certain guys get away with it over others.
Yeah, you get that too. Because when I watch you, I would never call you a complainer. You're definitely not a complainer. But you probably have moments where you feel like I gotta say something, even though I think league wide complaining is way too much. You probably, I don't know if you feel differently about that one. I just feel like, okay, we get every single call here now. But when is it for you? When do you know, okay, this is the decision where I feel like I need an audience for the way things are going?
Yeah, I think it's obviously it depends on who I'm guarding, or it depends on who's guarding me. You got to realize that superstars get more calls than the rest of the crew, as much as nobody wants to admit it. Everyone knows it's true.
It's totally true. It's not debatable.
And then there's almost, you want refs to trust you. So in a lot of ways you can't, or at least I try not to. I try not to argue when I know I fouled somebody. If I fouled somebody, I'll keep my mouth shut. I'll kind of give them a nod like, yeah, I fouled him. So then the next time that I go up to them and I'm emotional about something, or I'm pissed off and I don't think I fouled them, that they actually believe me. And the best thing you do, and this is like something that I do, is kind of, because I want the ref to also know he's wrong. So I want to tell him on the court, and a lot of times they don't. Obviously, they don't agree, and that's why they called it differently than what I think. And so if it's the first half, I always go in, I'm like, go back and look at that play at halftime and tell me if I'm right. And so right away, it's like we have to have another conversation at halftime. And most of the time, it's somebody telling me like, yeah, I might have missed that, or no, you did. And then we have another talk at halftime. And so it's a subtle way of keeping the conversation going, or if I'm going up in the middle of the game and I'm telling somebody I didn't foul somebody, or I'm trying to look up at the scoreboard, you can't, refs don't want to look up at the big screen during the game. But if you tell them like, hey, go back at halftime and tell me I'm wrong, usually they'll go in, they'll rewatch the play, and sometimes they'll come out and be like, "Yo, Kev, I missed that." And you expect a makeup call in the second half.
See, I like that though. I think that's smart. It's tactical. It's like I got to make sure I use my spots. Where, let me be delicate about this. I can't stand watching Kyle Lowry play, but I respect what he brings to a team.
Right.
I respect what he is. I also have some weird respect that he believes he's right that often about some of the calls. Like I'll look at him and go, "This is actually amazing that you could believe you're right."
Right. Well, there's so many guys like that where it's the guys who have been in the league a long time, have a lot of respect within coaches, within refs, and you're on the court and it's they blatantly hack somebody, or there's a call that they're arguing and they're following the ref to the scorer's table and and you're kind of sitting there like, man, you fouled them. Like, well, why are we sitting here? Why are we arguing about this? And Kyle's someone that, again, when you're guarding him, he's so good at drawing fouls that you got to be extra careful when you're guarding him. And he definitely gets more calls than I guess a rookie would get, just because he knows the NBA rules. He knows how to manipulate the rules. And Kyle's unbelievable, obviously, for what he's doing at the Heat. But there's so many guys like that it really doesn't matter what the play is. It's almost like they're arguing just to argue, just to start talking to the refs, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, even Harden the other day just came out and said he's mad about the inconsistency of the calls that he's getting. And I'm like, dude, you're back to third in free throw attempts per game right now in the NBA. So, but that's just the way everybody's wired. All right, so this is good because I asked your GM Travis about this. I said, do you ever have moments where when Trae drives and then he projectiles himself backwards into a guy and gets the call where you laugh with guilt and you laugh with guilt? And Travis was funny about the answer. He's like, well, and so that was the big thing coming into this year. They were going to stop doing it because I hate it. I hate it so much. What's the maddest you've seen an opponent get at Trae getting one of those calls? Because I've seen some, because I watch you guys a lot. I really like a lot of the depth this team has, and you, of course. But sometimes I see guys where I'm like, I can't believe they're not going to either go in the tunnel at half or retire.
It really is. It's like every single game that he gets whoever is guarding him, he gets somebody like so pissed off and going to the refs. And I can't imagine how frustrating it is to have to guard Trae in a game. It's like every little thing, if you're touching him, he knows how to draw hands where he's swiping his hands through and he's getting a call. If you're trailing him on a screen, he knows how to stop and throw his body where he just, he stops his momentum. Guys carry themselves into him. He hits them and he draws a foul. Going to the rim, if you're trying to get physical with him, he's light enough that, he can fall off and draw fouls. But every other moment of the game, he's bumping into guys. He knows how to manipulate calls. If you give him space, he's hitting threes. And everybody, you go into every game and you know that Trae is 1A, 1B, 1C on everybody's scouting report. And it's how can we stop this guy? And to go in and, all these big athletes, the big long threes of the NBA and the big forwards, and you're going in and you're like, you're guarding Trae, and you walk out and you look at him, you're like, this is the guy who's averaging 30 a night. And he goes into games. I think the funniest part is, when he does that thing where he stops and he kind of just, and he goes into a shot. There's times he splits guys' lips. Where
okay,
the back of his head is hitting guys, and they're getting a little blood on their lips, and they're going to the ref like, "How are you calling that on me?" And Trae's at the free throw line just shooting free throws. And I think for me, that's where I think visibly I'll be on the court just kind of laughing. Like I would be so frustrated guarding this guy in a game. You can't really touch him. Like he's so good at drawing fouls and manipulating him that you can't get physical with him, and then he'll do it right back.
All right, you're being very diplomatic about this idea that he just stops and then people run into him. When he doesn't do it as much because he knew he wasn't getting away with it as much this year. When he jumps backwards into somebody, okay, he jumps backwards. When he split Tim Hardaway's chin, let me pick that up there. When he split Tim Hardaway Jr.'s chin it was like the very, very beginning of the season, and Hardaway got called with a foul. Trae's still mad. By the way, nobody gets madder before the call he's about to get than Trae Young. Like he's about to get the call and he's already turned and he's incensed. And the ref's like, my arm is already up. Like, what's the issue? And Hardaway's going, my chin is bleeding. Like, what are you talking about? I do think he stopped going backwards as much because they were on the lookout for it. this season, but I think, again, between some of the top free throw guys, I think the league is kind of, it's sort of it's gone kind of back to not entirely what it was, but I don't think that was going to be a league-long thing or a year-long thing. It certainly isn't.
No, and and like I said, it's Tim. He's on a short list of guys that's happened to. He's not the only guy that he's gotten his lip split, but it's every team, they go into every game and they try to be physical with him, and it feels like no matter what teams are doing, he knows a way to draw a foul of how teams are being physical. You're going to try to bottom me up, I can fall. You're going to bottom me up, I'm just going to stop when I'm going to a shot. And you're trying to get handsy, I can swipe through and draw a foul. He's so good at manipulating fouls that it's got to be frustrating. And Tim Hardaway, he's, like I said, he caught it, I think, the first game of the year, like you're talking about, and literally walking away off the court with a bloody lip, and Trae's at the free throw line, and he's the one who drew the foul.
I remember Nash in a game. I don't want to spend any more time on this, but Nash was just incensed one game last season where he's like, this just isn't basketball. Like, what? It's like, this isn't basketball. He was freaking out about it.
That was someone too. So, I mean, Trae's learned a lot of his game from Steve. So that was kind of something that when he said it, I was like, hey, he's watching film of you and how you're drawing fouls and how you used to play. So I think it's different now. He has to coach against them, but Steve wasn't an enemy of the refs. He was someone that was out there and he was drawing fouls and knew how to manipulate the game just like everybody else today.
I feel like I've made the interview about this too much, so I want to finish up here shortly. And just so anybody knows, as a media voter now, I voted for Trae to be a starter, despite my annoyance at times with all of this. So you're good. You guys think, because at the beginning of the year, I was like, look at all of these guys. Look at all these options. Even Okongwu, when he comes in, and I'm like, the rotation of bigs for them. And I know, you moved on from Cam because there probably just wasn't enough room, even though he had shown glimpses. I think defensively, maybe there's some issues there too. Like, what's going to happen with this team this year? Because there's some hopes for him.
It's a great question. We've won 4 in a row as of right now, and they have another game Wednesday. But we feel like we're playing better. But we have a lot of ground to make up. We're 4 games under 500, and you lose a game, now you're 5 games. It's really every single game for us matters, and the way the injury bug has bit our team in the past, and luckily I think we've gotten through COVID, but we really can't get too comfortable. We feel like if we're on the court, we have the talent to win a lot of games in a row and beat really anybody, but we're still in a hole here that we have to dig ourselves out of. So we get to 500, we can get into a game. I think we have really good players at every position and really good players that back up every position that we can be a team that can make another deep run. We just have to get there first.
Well, I hope it happens for you, because I actually started to really enjoy you guys. And I don't know if you can answer this. I was going to ask for Bill Simmons, hey, why are they so easy to predict offensively at the end of close games? But I don't think you probably couldn't answer that for us, could you?
Probably couldn't. I haven't seen as many of their end of games as you guys have at the same time.
All right. We'll work on that one for you next time. Although I'd get you in all sorts of trouble if you ever answered that. I actually don't think it's that complicated of an answer. So, hey, man, good luck the second half of the season. Looking forward to it. It's been a lot of fun seeing you now in your 4 years and getting the contract and the whole deal as a kid that I remember Van Pelt just being like, dude, this Huerter guy's pretty good. I was like, yeah, no, he is good. So, I know this isn't the biggest goal, the ultimate goal, but it's been a lot of things checked off the list here so far for you, Kevin. So thanks again.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate having me on. Hopefully we can do this again, not in 2 years.
Yeah. Now that we've made the connection, it'd be easy to close this one in. Thanks again.